Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about having fun at work, something that sometimes happens, but not always. And when it does, we're in fact much more productive. So I'd like to start with asking you a question. Can you think of a job that you hated? And I want you to think about why you hated it. Was it the job tasks? Was it the workplace environment? Was it your commute? It probably was something more like the people that you worked with and your relationships you had with them. If you think about it, it's the interactions that we have with our colleagues and with our superiors every day that define the way we feel and how productive we are at work. It's not only the type of work we're doing that makes us feel happy at work. So to give you some context about why it can be so complicated to work with all these different people and to find the right kind of relationship, the right kind of balance and teamwork, I'd like to ask you to look at this picture and shout out the first thing that comes to mind. What do you see? Love, interaction, horses, closeness. Together. What? Intimacy. Love, horses, sunset. Okay, so as you can see, each one of us has a completely different interpretation of the same set of information. That you all have the same information in front of you. It's one picture, but you all feel something different and interpret it in a different way. So if we consider that at work, we all have the same information and the same tasks in front of us, you can understand that the way we interpret them and the way we decide to act will be completely different. We judge ourselves on our intentions, but we judge others on their actions. So if we continue to do that, we'll constantly be in a loop and never really understand each other and never really have an optimal productivity and teamwork. Another picture for you. Who's right? There's two sides to every story. We all see things from our own point of view. So if we stop for a second and understand that, we're much better at working together. The question I have for you is, are you aware of the effect that your behavior has on other people? 95% of people will say no. They don't think about it, we just act. We interpret information and we behave in the best way we think we should. And we don't always stop and think, how does our behavior impact the people around us? And if none of us is really doing that, and we all count on teamwork being the future of productivity, innovation, and success, we're not going to get very far. Or at least we might get far, but it'll be a painful process. So I'd like to introduce to you some of the basic rules I believe can help us be more measured and be more understanding and play better at work. Maya Angelou says that she's learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So the first rule, and all of these rules are things you learned in kindergarten. You all know the rules, we all learned them, and our schools and our parents make sure that we really understand them while we're growing up. But for some reason, when we enter the workplace, we forget. We abandon all of the basic rules that we knew to be right, true, and honest when we were 5 years old, when we enter the workforce. So the first rule is don't point. Believe it or not, people seem very comfortable pointing out each other's errors or mistakes in front of other people. Just like in a bus when you were little and you pointed, hey mom, look at that woman over there with the big belly, you shouldn't do that at work. It's not productive. It won't help the person improve, and it will create a toxic relationship in your group. So if you have some kind of a feedback to provide to a colleague or even a boss, you need to ask for more information, approach the person individually, and not use judgment as your first course of action. Next rule, another one, amazingly easy for people to forget in the workplace, is to say you're sorry. Some things will go wrong, and you might hurt somebody unintentionally. Admitting when you're wrong and saying you're sorry is always the best way forward. Your teachers tell you that, your parents tell you that, but somehow your boss doesn't always tell it to you, and it's not your instinct when you're at work. But the simple 2 words, "I'm sorry," can be very impactful at unlocking difficult situations at work. And at the end of the day, what we all want are results and to move forward and not to be held up on silly dramas. So be courageous and just admit when you have made a mistake. Next, use your words. We don't scream and cry and have a tantrum. No one will dump opportunity in your lap. So you don't say, "Oh, nobody gave me this. This is so unfair." You have to use your words, ask for what you want. If you don't ask, you can't complain. Easier said than done. It's very hard for us as human beings to identify what our needs are, but when they're not met, it's very easy for us to complain, scream, and whine to everyone who will listen to us. But if you remember to take a deep breath and ask for what it is that you need, use your words, it'll be much more productive for everyone. Put away your toys. Another one, very strict at school and at home. When you're done with something, put it away in perfect condition so it's ready for the next person to use. Oftentimes at work, we are in such a rush that we go, and we create things and we leave them in messy condition that are not really ready for the next person to pick them up. If something were to happen where you were unable to come to the office or be productive for 1 week, could a colleague pick up where you left off and continue with the same quality? This should be your question. Before you finish a project, it's not done until it's fully saved, accessible, in the right kind of condition and file formats, etc., for another person to pick up where you left off. Listen. Sometimes you just need to close your mouth and listen. And then ask questions to activate people, to build those relationships, and not make judgment before you really listened to another person. Sharing. Somehow at work, we're all caught up in our own personal gain and our own personal success and ambition that we forget that success is perfectly divisible, and sharing actually generates better results. So the more we give back, the more we put out into the universe, the ecosystem, to our colleagues, the more innovation we actually have. So remember to share. Sharing is caring. Don't cry over spilt milk. So I don't know if this is a universal expression or if it's very Anglophone American, but don't sweat the small stuff. Things will go wrong. You have to try, and if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. So a test is successful when it generates findings, a prototype when it improves while being tested, so don't try to be perfect. Perfection does not exist, and just don't cry when just little things happen. Tell the truth. Another big one. We learn that lying is bad and lying is wrong, and nobody lies, when you're in school, or to your parents you wouldn't lie, or your sister, your brother, but somehow when push comes to shove and you feel you need to at work, people do. They lie, they cover up the truth, they don't want to admit when they're wrong, they made a mistake, or for whatever reason, people have hidden agendas and they're out for themselves. But lying will never get you anywhere, and truth will set you free. So remember to just be straightforward and honest with all of your interactions, and things will be much more productive and fun for everybody. Another one is making space. Remember in your kindergarten and you're the big circle and someone comes in and everybody's crushing to get closer and closer to the teacher to see what's happening, and she has to keep saying, push back, push back, push back, everybody make space, make space. You need to make space for everyone. No one's voice is too small to be heard, and some of the best ideas can come from the least experienced or least paid people in the room. So make space for others, hear them out, and that's where the best ideas will come from. And wash your hands before you start. Prepare yourself before asking for someone else's time. It happens all the time that people want to ask for a favor or have a call or have a meeting, but they don't properly prepare and respect the other person's time. We all have to respect our own time and that of others. So prepare yourself, remember to have an agenda, and respect the people that you will be meeting with before you ask. So to quick sum it up, don't point, say sorry, use your words, put away your toys, listen, share, don't cry over spilt milk, tell the truth, make space for everyone, and wash your hands before you start. Why? We all want results at the end of the day. We're all put together in companies and startups and corporations. We're all there and we're all paid so that we can create some kind of result. But if we don't understand how our behavior impacts other people around us, and we don't take time to listen and respect those around us and value their diversity, we cannot build a rapport because we're unhappy and we don't like the interaction because we haven't taken the time, and we cannot co-create results. The results will always be 50% or less of what the potential really is. So taking the time at this foundation level and understanding the rules of the game and how to properly play and have a good time actually generates the results and the income that your business needs. So in conclusion, it's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. Any questions on this before I conclude? It's a bit short. But that's the end from me. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.